It was a dark and stormy night in a rural area, and the torrential rain pounded on the roof of the old Victorian house. The only people currently inside the house were Sarah, a 17-year-old with a penchant for pranks, and her older brother Mark, their parents having gone out for the night. Sarah was currently enjoying a long, relaxing shower after a stressful day of high school. The hot water provided solace, washing away the worries that clung to her. As the water cascaded soothingly down her skin, Sarah lost herself in her thoughts within the peaceful sanctuary of the bathroom. Her thoughts turned momentarily to her brother. He was 18 years old, 1 year her senior. He was a straight-A student in school and had just been accepted into a prestigious university. However, at the same time, he was quite a prankster, much like herself. They often played tricks and pulled pranks on each other, and on other people, sometimes teaming up to do the latter. Eventually, Sarah finished her shower and reluctantly turned off the water. She shivered slightly as she reached around the edge of the curtain for her towel, but discovered an empty hook where it should have been. Confused, she opened the curtain and scanned the bathroom, and saw that her clothes had been stolen as well, both her set of clean clothes and the clothes she had worn before getting in the shower. She walked across the bathroom and opened the little closet where they kept the extra towels, only to find that all of those towels were gone as well. A small, amused smile formed on her face as she rolled her eyes, assuming that this was just another prank by her brother. Their pranks sometimes even included things like this, so this was nothing new. Additionally, her brother was good at being swift and stealthy, a skill both of them had developed over the years as pranksters, which explained how her brother would have been able to get in here, steal everything, and get out again without her even hearing him from within the shower. Chuckling to herself, she called out, "All right, Mark, very funny! You can give them back now." No response. She opened the bathroom door and peeked out into a hallway, half expecting to see Mark standing there with a smirk on his face. But the hallway was empty, and the only sound in the house was from the rain drumming relentlessly on the roof. Sarah reluctantly stepped out of the bathroom, still completely unclothed, and a slight uneasy feeling settled in her gut as the chill from the cool air met her wet skin. She started walking towards Mark's room, her bare feet leaving wet footprints on the hallway floor. She called out for her brother again, but still received no reply. This did not seem like him. She would normally have expected him to reveal himself by now, laughing. And something else felt off as well, although she couldn't put her finger on it. She continued walking towards his room, half expecting him to jump out at any moment. As she walked by the top of the stairway, she felt a slight cold breeze that made her shiver, and she turned to look downstairs. At the bottom of the stairs, a window was open, and she could make out muddy footprints on the floor leading away from the window. Fear gripped her as realization dawned. There was an intruder in the house, and the playfulness drained from her face. Her heart raced as she understood the gravity of the situation. Her exposed vulnerability amplified the fear that clutched at her. Heart pounding, Sarah swiftly made her way to Mark's room, her bare feet padding softly on the floor. She opened his door and saw him facing away from her, listening to music with his noise-canceling headphones snugly in place, which explained why he didn't respond to her calls moments earlier. Annoyance and amusement flickered across Sarah's face as she spotted her missing towel and clothes casually strewn across Mark's bed. She entered the room, closing the door behind her, walked over to him, and yanked the headphones off of his head. Startled, he turned to face her. "Ha ha, very funny, Mark," she said, a blend of irritation and laughter in her voice. Mark's startled expression turned into a playful smirk. Then Mark looked down at his sister's feet. "You're getting water on my floor," he said, looking back up at her with a playful smirk. Sarah raised an eyebrow and smirked back. "And whose fault is it that I had to come in here like this?" she retorted. The two siblings shared a laugh, their bond evident in this moment of mischief. But then Sarah suddenly remembered the open window and footprints. As Sarah explained the situation, the amusement faded from Mark's face, replaced by genuine concern. With a shared sense of urgency, Mark helped Sarah dry off and get dressed quickly. They sometimes did things like this and were comfortable with it, a testament to the depth and strength of the bond between them. Normally a situation like this would be filled with teasing banter between them, but now was not the time for that, given the current situation. Once Sarah was clothed, Mark went and grabbed 2 baseball bats from his closet, and handed one to Sarah. Bats in hand, they silently left the room and went into the hallway together, Mark in the lead. As they silently crept towards the top of the stairs, they listened intently for any noises, but the house was still silent aside from the relentless downpour of rain. Their shared skill for being stealthy aided them immensely as they swiftly and silently made their way down the hall and down the stairs to the open window. From there, they started following the muddy footsteps. Fear mingled with bravery as they pursued the unseen intruder. The muddy trail led them down the hall, and they saw it lead into the door to the living room. Mark motioned to Sarah to stay behind him, and together they crept towards the door, bats at the ready. They cautiously peeked around the corner, and across the dark living room, they saw the intruder, huddled up in the corner on the other side of the room. Mark and Sarah silently crept into the room, just inside the door, and in one swift motion, Mark reached over and flicked the light switch. With a cry of surprise, the intruder leapt to their feet and turned to face Mark and Sarah. They saw that the intruder was a disheveled and crazed-looking woman, and she was holding a knife. The 2 siblings raised their bats defensively, and Mark instinctively stepped in front of his sister, shielding her. The woman then charged at them, knife raised, but they swung at her with their bats, hitting her in the ribs. The woman cried out and doubled over in pain, clutching herself. Mark screamed at her to get out, he and Sarah raising their bats threateningly, and she complied. Still doubled over, she ran down the hall and to the front door, Mark and Sarah following her closely in united resistance with their bats at the ready. The woman yanked open the door and ran out into the rainy night. "If you ever come back, we'll call the police," Sarah yelled after her, a newfound strength in her words, as she shut the front door and locked it. The tension dissipated, leaving behind a sense of relief. Sarah and Mark, now standing side by side, shared a glance that spoke volumes as a silent understanding passed between them. Nevertheless, the 2 of them quickly went around the house and locked all the doors and windows, and then they retreated to Mark's room together. Too scared to go anywhere alone in the house despite the fact that it was all locked up now, they spent the night together in Mark's room. They snuggled up comfortably in his bed together, his arm protectively wrapped around his sister, and they fell asleep, their bond having strengthened and deepened more than ever before after the night's events.